Alright, so, just fucking because I would like to talk about what I did this weekend. Fuck the rest of the world. When it comes to around Thursday night, generally after I'm done making the video that I make on Thursday, that's when I kind of don't pay attention to anything that's going on outside of my apartment. Fuck it, I don't care. Like, this is how I'm getting through it. I'm sorry that sucks for you guys. I don't do shit on the weekends, but I would just suggest, just for yourself, just don't be involved in this shit on the weekends, man. Enjoy your fucking weekends. It's a nice time to just get away from it all. I think that would help a lot of people a lot. Anyways, so what I did this weekend was I've been playing The Forest with my brother-in-law and kind of by myself, and I could tell that I was getting to the point where I was about done with The Forest, because it was like I don't want to get on and chop down any more trees. It's just and I could get on and play it for like 20 minutes and just go beat the game, but I don't really care to do that either. I'm like, I don't really care about going searching through fucking caves for the last item that I need. I'm like, I don't know. So I didn't really play anything too terribly much on like Friday, and then Saturday I was trying to think of what I wanted to do, and I was like, well, I'll find something on my Xbox. I've got fucking 300 games on the fucking thing. I'll find something I can play just until I figure out what I want to play next, right? So I get on and I'm like, what are the free games coming up? So I look at the free games that are coming up, and I don't really see anything. I was like, eh. But I saw that they had deals going on, and I always check out the deals, right? So I'm looking through the deals, and I see this game called Fade to Silence, and it looked really cool. The cover art looked really cool. I'm big into the black and white, you know, kind of sketch art where there's color, like one piece of color somewhere. And shit just pops like crazy for me. I love it. So I look, you know, I saw the art and I'm like, that looks really cool. It's not, but the cover art makes it kind of look like it has like almost a Shadows of Colossus feel to it. They just fucked around with the size of the, whatever. You find out really quick now. But anyways, so I'm like, that's kind of cool. And so I watched it, and I watched the trailer for it. And the trailer is very descriptive. It pretty much runs you through like what to expect in an entire playthrough. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'm like, it's not often you get that, you know, but I'm like, I appreciate it, you know, it's a big descriptor. And kind of thinking about it as it's going, I can like, I can tell what type of game this is, so I can understand why people would go through this kind of effort. But, so, I watched the trailer, thought it looked cool, I was digging it, but I wasn't entirely sure, because just games nowadays, fuck them, I'm never sure anymore. So I'm like, I'll go check the reviews. And the old reviews all said, bugged ass fucking game, doesn't work, crashes constantly, not worth the money, blah blah blah. And I'm like, eh. But all the recent reviews say, bugs are fixed, everything's great, not worth the money. And I'm like, well shit. And it was like, yeah, not worth 50 bucks, 40, 50 bucks, not worth 40, 50 bucks. Maybe it's worth like $20, $30. And I'm like, well, it's on sale for $8. Well, if it's worth $20 to $30, it's definitely worth $8. So I bought it. I started playing it. Immediately fell in love with it. Fade to Silence is a roguelike game. Now, there's a lot of different definitions for what a roguelike game is. What a roguelike game is, for me, is that you will die, and when you die, you're fucked. But you get to carry over something from your former playthrough. Kind of like a new, always on New Game Plus. You always have access to a New Game Plus file. It's just, you didn't get to the end of the game, so you didn't get everything. You don't get to start the game over with everything. You get to start the game over with some of what you did get. I love those kind of games. I like that shit. I like progress in a game. Anytime you can stretch out my feeling of progressing, getting better at something, man, I'm going to be all into it. I don't know why. It's just the thing about that. I like to see improvement in myself. And roguelike games, man, they really give you an opportunity to see improvement in yourself. Go from Binding of Isaac, where you can't even beat the first fucking floor with Isaac, and then all of a sudden you kind of figure out what some shit does. You figure out things you don't want. You figure out things you definitely do want. And you figure out never to take pills because they're just stupid. And then all of a sudden you beat Mom. And you're like, that's cool. And then it adds more shit for you to have to do. But you get more stuff to help you out. That's awesome. I love that kind of shit, you know. New Game Plus. I would call Binding of Isaac more of a New Game Plus type of thing. It's top-down shooter. It's no different to me than like Smash TV. I didn't consider Smash TV to be a fucking roguelike game. I don't understand why people think that Binding of Isaac's a roguelike game, other than that it has procedural dungeons. Like I said, there's a whole lot of elements to roguelike games that I consider a roguelike game to be more like a always-on New Game Plus. Fade to Silence is like that. You have two different game modes. You have pussy-ass game mode, and then you have survival. I'm playing it on survival. I don't play on pussy-ass game mode. No, except for Star Wars, but that game was stupid. So anyways, so, right? I'm playing it on survival. In survival, you get 3 lives. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. Not the ever-present fucking, oh my god, I'm gonna die of 1 life. You know, it gives you a little bit of learning curve. I'm like, well, that's cool. So you get 3 lives. And when you die 3 times, you're fucking dead. That's it. But there's shards that you find all over the place. And there's one shard that improves your health, one that improves your stamina, one that improves your nourishment from eating food, you know, how much your hunger bar goes down when you eat, and another one for warmth. I'll explain why that's important when we start getting into the actual game. I'm just describing mechanics at this point. So you find those shards, and every time you find 3 of them, you get a +1 in whatever it is you found 3 of them in. And there's a bunch of them you can find. It looks like you probably get up to about +10, maybe even +15. I don't know. I didn't actually really count how many pluses you get. I was just kind of like, I'm at +2.5 right now on a couple of things. So, yay! Right? Like, that's all I give a shit about. So, yeah. You find these shards and they increase your stats. Those carry over when you die. You find those shards, they're yours. Now, I have not died enough to get to a second playthrough yet, because I am amazingly good at these types of games. And we'll get into that when we get into the further elements of this, because there's a whole lot going on here. There's a whole lot going on in this game. It isn't just roguelike. There's actual like gameplay to it too. So, I haven't died yet, so I don't know if it like replaces those, so you can kind of get the same ones over and over again and stack them like that. I have no idea if you can do that or not. If they're not there anymore, I understand. Whatever. But you also, whenever you take over like a tower, we'll get into that in a minute. When you take over a tower, you get what's called a Shard of Hope. And with Shards of Hope, you can buy essentially perks that you will carry over with your character through future iterations of the game. And they're things like you get a shit ton of wood in your storage when you start the game. That's nice. Other ones where you get to keep like your bow, the best bow that you got in your previous playthrough, the best bags that you got in your previous playthrough. There's one where you can keep your kennel, your sled, and your sled dogs up to 2, and then up to 4 for the second rank, and then up to 6 for the third rank. Like you can keep things you've built in your town, palisades. You know, you can keep your palisades. You got your defensive wall. Some will let you keep like any huts you've made. Some will let you keep this, that, the other thing. You know, blah, blah. So, you get perks. You find things that will allow you to buy perks whenever you die, so that your next playthrough, I don't need to worry about my fucking walls. Look, there they are. Bing! That's awesome. So, what is the game though? What happens when you start playing it? We know what happens when you die, fucker. How do you play? Well, you wake up as the human, as the dude that you play as, and there's this demon thing kind of swirling around you, talking to you, taunting you, right? And then it kind of goes into you, and you wake up, right? And then it taunts you. Like this fucking spirit, I guess, is possessing you or whatever. It's inside you somehow. And it taunts you through the whole game. Like every time you try to do something, it taunts you. So it's taunting you about how you can't escape. And then you find a torch. Ta-da! Right? Your first weapon. You get a torch. And with that, you can break out of the entrance way and you get down into the town, which is fucking burning. But there's your daughter waving on a roof. Help, help, help. And so now you gotta fight monsters. And it's a very Diablo style combat system. The monsters do attacks. You can't really just tank them and beat on them. Like they'll block. They have some sort of an AI. It's not the best AI, but they are fucking brainless monsters. So they block and they attack. And there's timing involved. You can roll. You have a heavy and a light attack. That's pretty much it. You get the sword. At first, you just have a torch, and you have to make sword and stuff like that. You get a torch. That's your weapon. For a good portion of the beginning of the game, you've got just a torch. And you beat on motherfuckers with a torch, right? And then, I imagine you put some effort into putting out the town. You don't. Actually, I figure you just kind of burn it straight to the fucking ground. They just let it burn pretty much straight to the ground. There wasn't really much left. Yeah. I guess they didn't really work on putting anything out. They just were like, fuck it, gone. But you begin to realize, when the next morning starts and now it's time to go out and play the game, right? You're done with the combat tutorial. Now it's time to play the game. We've set the stage. You know who you are, more or less, and you know what's going on. You're being tormented by the spirit. It doesn't want you to succeed. It doesn't want you to survive. It wants you to die. It's very clear about that. It wants you to die. So, now you wake up. It's morning. Now you have to adjust to whatever the fuck it is you're about to deal with. And you walk outside and realize it's fucking cold. And there's snow everywhere. It's fucking cold. Oh shit. I have to deal with cold in a survival game. Now, immediately my sphincter, I mean, I knew ahead of time, but this was the thing that made me kind of go, my sphincter shrunk up and I was like, I don't know about that. I played another game that was a survival game in cold. And it was not balanced. Before I could ever even find enough shit to even get started, like, I need to build shit cloth clothing. Well, how do I do that? Well, I need to find grass, usually is what it is, tall grass of some sort. You pick that up, I'm dead from the cold. What? I didn't even get the chance to make the pants, man. What the fuck? So, yeah, like, that game just pissed me off so much. I was like, I don't know, it might be a while before I'm willing to do another cold fucking game. This game is a cold game. So I'm like, hopefully it's not awful. And it's not awful. It's essentially, it just gives you another timer. You have a freeze meter. After so long, your freeze meter fills up, you freeze to death. You just have to manage that. You have to go back to your campfire and warm up. That's it. And like, if you're holding the torch, it will slow down your freezing. the torch does raise the temperature around you, and it's convenient. You have a nice little thermometer that has Celsius and Fahrenheit. It's a nice little thermometer that's apparently on your dude. It registers the temperature around him. And sometimes, like in blizzards, oh, there's blizzards. Dude, there's snow tornadoes. They're only rumors to me that I saw in the trailer, but I haven't run into them yet in the game, but apparently there's snow tornadoes. But there's blizzards. And I have not yet had to deal with a blizzard any more than like a little. I haven't really been out in the blizzard. Like, I've been out in the blizzard as it was starting to happen. But then I go to bed. That's when I go, time to sleep, and then I sleep for a couple of hours. And when I wake up, it tells me the blizzard's over, and I go, ding! I don't want to deal with fucking sitting out in a blizzard, not being able to see shit. That would suck. So, yeah, you go out in the cold, and then it's a survival game. You have to chop down trees, you have to hunt deer, you have to fucking scavenge resources, shit like that. Luckily enough, you find followers along the way that will help you out. They will go out and scavenge too, they will go out and chop down wood, hunt for meat, do this, they'll build shit in your town. They're the only ones that can build shit in the town, which I think is kind of shitty, but at the same time, it just kind of stretches things. It's another thing you have to deal with. Your character's role is to always be going out and getting in fresh new resources from outside of the town in order to fuel the people you have inside of the town to then do shit with it, right? They're building the community, you're keeping everything running. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. Reminds me a lot of State of Decay 2. Oh yeah, this game reminds me a lot of State of Decay 2. It's actually a rogue version of State of Decay 2 with a slight shift in priorities, right? In State of Decay 2, they kind of wanted to rush you through the towns. So you would hit a point, if you decided you wanted to just fuck around in an area and find every single thing you can possibly loot, and every single point of interest in the map, and every single person that you can have a side quest with, and every single everything, you can't. You can't do it. It gets to a point where they send so many big, huge, nasty zombies and giant fucking hordes of zombies. You get to a point where you're just going to lose. Like, all of that time will have just been wasted because they will dwindle down your resources so fast. It's actually amazing to see how quickly that game falls apart the further you push it into, like, playing in the same area. It gets to a point where it's unbeatable. You have to finish the goal. And hopefully by then you still have enough resources to be able to finish the goal, because you're fucked if you can't. And the goal in that game is to destroy like 9, they were like Hearts of Darkness or some shit like that. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I played that game. It's a very fun game. Love that game. Roguelike, other game that I love. You're getting me. And it's a survival game on top of it. Oh, it's awesome. So how is this game like, you know? No, it doesn't send more and more progressive nasty waves of shit at you, although it does send waves of shit at you. That's another one of your survival meters, how often your town gets attacked. But one of the big problems that you quickly find out you're going to run into is firewood. Like, it's cold. Like, at best, it's like 30 degrees out. Like, that's pretty nice. Like, when it's 32 degrees, I'm like, wow, I might actually be able to do some shit. Usually it's in the 20s. And in blizzards, it actually dropped to -11. In a blizzard, that's when I kind of thought, oh, I might be fucked. And I had to pull out my torch, which just raised it up to a wonderful balmy 14. that was actually a really stressful run back to base. Because in the blizzard, the snowdrifts start piling up. So you have to start running through snow, which means your stamina goes like that. So you can't run very far. You mostly pretty much just have to trudge. And the wind is so bad, you can't hold a torch. Unless you're in the nice ravine that I was in when I was running home that one time. But if you're actually out like in a field, you can't hold your torch. It actually pays attention to that kind of shit. I was amazed. I'm like, God damn. So it's bad to be caught out in a blizzard. Like I said, I didn't get much further than having to deal with that danger. I booked it as home as fast as I possibly could. And once you get into your town, like there is a huge, like the more buildings you get in your town, because each building gets its own fucking fireplace and its own stash and everything. Like everything gets fired, right? Because it's fucking cold. So like once you hit your town's boundary, the heat jumps huge. Like it gets up to about 50, and then whenever you're inside of a building, it gets up to like 72. Sometimes it gets up as high as 77. So, you know, that's kind of nice. It's toasty in here. But I couldn't imagine living in that world where you're constantly going from like 25 and being physically active, running from here to there, chopping down trees and shit like that, and then you run back home and then you get into a room where it's like 70 and you're like, oh, get me out of this like that. Oh, dude, that I could never. As soon as it got cold for long enough where I'm like, it's never gonna not be this cold again, man. I'm done. Yeah, fuck that. I don't like being cold. So this is like a lot of like Dennis fucking, he likes the idea of being able to play Subnautica. He would really like to play Subnautica. Dennis is terrified of deep water. Dennis is not really a water going guy. He doesn't like to be able to look down in water and not see what's down there. And like, I don't like that either, but Dennis really doesn't like that. So he doesn't do well with like Subnautica. This is like my Subnautica. Like, I can deal with playing a video game in the cold. I played Skyrim. You know, I can deal with playing a cold video game. But, like, that, like, freezing to death, oh, that is not a way I would want to go, man. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like being cold. Fuck, freezing to death. Ugh. When you're so cold, you're on fire? No, thank you. I don't want to experience total body nerve death. No, thank you. So yeah, this kind of game, like when the blizzard's going, I start sweating. This is like, dude, I'm not looking forward to seeing a fucking snow tornado and having to deal with that shit. I don't want to deal with that shit. So yeah, and you can, like I said before, you can get a sled. You find sled dogs that you know you can make your friends, right? So you can befriend sled dogs. You get up to 6 of them, which is fucking cool. I love the roguelike element of it. I love that it's survival based. It really, because you always have to have your fire running all the time, because you put firewood in the stash and you got people in town, man. They use it for fire. Yeah, I understand you'd like to use it when you're here. Fuck you, it's cold. Like, you know, you're out there fucking around. I don't know what to tell you. I'm staying here where it's warm. And it's going to keep being warm where I am. You want to know why? Because you leave all the firewood in the big trunk. I put it in the fire. What do you want? This is like, so it runs the fire constantly. And that makes sense. I can understand that. From a gamer perspective, I'm like, yes, cool. But I get it. So it like, because shit doesn't respond either. There's no responding. No. You've chopped down all the trees in this area. It's done. Like, that's it. All the trees are gone now. Move to the next area. Like, you gotta find more trees that you can chop down and shit. And there's this terrible fucking awful taint all over the world. That's what's making the monsters and stuff. And it reminds me a lot of War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, where they were spraying the blood everywhere and they had these red vines growing all over everything. Yeah, it looks like that. It's really cool corruption style. I always love the vine That like they go as far as to have like tentacles and shit. There's a lot of tentacles everywhere and stuff. If you're into tentacle porn, you'll love this game. But yeah, like all the trees have like this terrible vines growing on them and shit like that. Well, you can't use that wood. That's just bad wood. So you can only use the nice pristine trees that are over in this small little area. And like finding, reindeer that you can shoot and shit like, yeah, you kill reindeer. Finding reindeer that you can shoot and shit like that, that's kind of cool. Shooting the reindeer, but if you kill too many reindeer, there ain't no more fucking reindeer here, is there? So, you gotta go find more reindeer spot. Like, it's kind of cool. You kind of constantly have to be pushing outwards because there's fucking nothing around you anymore in this area. There's nothing more to do. Move. Like, you have to go. So you are running against the timer of, I constantly need to be getting more food and firewood because those are the two most important things in the world. Food and fire. It doesn't do water, thank God. I imagine they went, he'll probably drink snow. We don't need to worry about water. So it's food and firewood. Those are the two most important things. And you're always running out of food and firewood. Dude, you get up to like 300 firewood and you think to yourself, oh, I could build like 6 buildings. No, because then you're down to 30 firewood and you don't realize it. Because firewood, of course, also goes into pretty much everything you have to build. All the buildings need firewood to function. They need wood, man. And it's supposed to drain your resources. The game doesn't like you. It doesn't want you to win. It wants you to lose. Because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, because what does kill you makes you stronger. And then the next time, you don't have to waste all of that firewood in building your wall because you got the perk that lets you keep your wall. Right? And that's a little bit longer that you can play the game realistically. Fucking around and stuff like that and getting into kind of the broader mechanisms of building and stuff like that and upgrading and whatnot and shit and so forth and so on. Right? Maybe this playthrough you go, well, I get to keep my wall, so let's just upgrade the shit out of it instead of building it because I'll always have it from this point on. And then maybe you play a run through where I'm just fortifying the shit out of everything that I have access to. All we're going to do is concentrate on just building everything up, and then I'm just going to walk into suicide missions and die, and then go through the next playthrough. It's live, die, repeat. You go through it, you gain a little bit extra knowledge, maybe you have some resources set up. Man, I love the idea of this game. I have absolutely I love roguelike games. Ever since I started playing more of those games where you die, it's hard as fuck, and you've only got one life, and when you die, you didn't win. But hey, you kept all your money. Go crazy. I love that kind of shit, you know what I mean? Or you kept your best weapon. That, I think one of the first roguelike type games I ever played, what was that called? It was like Torchlight. I can't remember exactly what it was called. It's been so long since I played it. I got my mom playing it. Boy, did she lose her life to it. She was fucking constantly playing that game. But it was like every time you played through the game, live or die, if you beat it or not, you got to carry across one object. And it would get stats tagged onto it, right? So, what you wanted to take was jewelry, because no level requirement on jewelry. Duh. Level 1 to whatever gear. So, you take your jewelry across, it'd be like a necklace or whatever, a ring, whatever you decide to make ridiculous. You take that across into the next game, and let's say it only had like 10 defense. Well, now it would have 10 defense and 3 strength. And the next time you took it through, it would have 10 defense, 3 strength, and plus 10 stamina. Or, and like you would just keep stacking things. Then you get to the point where now it's, instead of 10 defense, it gives you 20 defense. Because that one, it didn't give me something new, it doubled that old thing. Right? You see how it fucking starts to spin out of control, and you wind up with an item that its description of fucking enchantments is this long, and you can't even see what most of them are because your computer cuts it off here. You know what I mean? Like that's some fun shit when you get to play through and it's like I have a brand new character who has a wooden club and this ridiculous super god item that I have been working on that has 150 enchantments. Oh yeah, that's some good shit. I love that kind of stuff. I fell in love with that game mechanic the first time I played with it because I'm like, it makes you feel like you're doing something for a purpose. If you like every time I played Super Mario Brothers when I was a kid on Nintendo, and you'd get so far, and then you die your last life, and fuck you, that's it, new game, bitch. Like, you just get to start over again. It's like, well, throw me a bone here, man. It's a tough game. It's too bad. So now they've got we're going to make tough games again that are challenging as fuck, that you actually have to employ some strategy and some tactic to it. But if you wind up getting fucked, we're going to make it be a learning experience. Here's what you earned. You get to keep all that. I think it's fucking cool. And I counted it up. It looks like you can get up to 6 perks per playthrough. And I think there's 19 perks altogether. But something tells me I'm not going to wind up clearing all 4 of the rest of the towers on the last 2 lives that I have. Now, like I said, you start with 3 lives. You can find more lives. There are places where there are more lives. I have had in toto 6 lives. I am still down to 2. Actually, I think now I'm down to my last 1. I don't really remember. I might be down to 2. No, I died trying to kill those guys, which put me to 1, and then I found another 1. So it put me back up to 2. I kind of hover around my last life and 2 more. Or 1 more, whatever, because it counts the life that you're on. I don't have 2 more lives. I have 2 lives. But, like, it's cool how that's represented. It's like the area that you kind of are reborn in every time you die. There's torches that are lit up in a circle around where you wake up. And however many of them are lit, that's how many lives you got. And every time you die, that fucking demon thing blows one of them out and taunts you, and then goes into you, and then proceeds to taunt you every time you do something. I'm serious, man. Every time you do something. You see a deer, and you pull out your bow. Before you even knock the arrow and start pulling back and trying to aim, he's like, "Bah, you ain't gonna catch that deer." Like, dude, and it's not, you know, it's actually really cool. The voice actor for the demon is very cool. The writing for the demon is very cool. I love the world. It's very interesting. The monsters are fun to fight. Some of them are not fun to fight, but still fun to fight, you know. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the Eclipse. Probably what, to my mind, is probably the most funny, ridiculous, and infuriating fucking mechanic I've ever seen in a video game before. There's this thing called the Eclipse, and it just rotates around the map. Like, it goes from the area that you're in to all the areas that you ain't got to yet, and then it just kind of comes back around. And it kind of does like a spiraling in, and then it'll kind of do like a spiraling out type of thing. I don't know if it's like a flat earth type thing. I don't know. It's really weird. But it's this, what it is it looks like it's a giant ball of skyscrapers. That's the best way I can describe it. If you take the entire city of New York and just ball up like 8 or 9 fucking skyscrapers and just go bam, there you go. And that's what it is. It's covered with snow on the top because it's very cold. And it has these big red tentacles that dangle down from the bottom of it. And it just drops cars and corruption underneath it, wherever it is. Like, it's a fucking giant rain cloud that just rains cars and corruption everywhere it is. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you can go entirely underneath it, and it'll just keep going on its way. It'll keep doing its thing, and you just do your thing, and you're gonna have to dodge some cars and shit. It can't help itself. It's constantly dropping shit. It's a balled up city. It's always dropping cars and corruption wherever it goes. So you're gonna have to dodge some shit. But sometimes it notices you. I don't know. And then it glows red, which is very scary looking. And then it will hover over you and just drop cars and corruption on you wherever you go, just for however long it wants to. Like, there's no hiding from it. I've tried running into buildings, and it just keeps dropping cars and corruptions on the building and for however long it wants to hang out, and then ultimately it will leave. But doesn't matter. Like, you can run your ass off and try and get away from it, and it just hovers over you and drops cars and fucking corruption on you, and it ain't shit all you can do. It's very funny. Like, when you see it there, like, going off in the distance, and you can see the cars and shit falling from underneath it, and you're just like, oh, I know what it's like to be underneath that. That's a stare. Like, it's just very funny looking. But, oh my god, when you're trying to take over a base, and you're trying to fight monsters, and avoid corruption, and deal with juggling your health, and how much of your health is being ultimately frozen off, like that's another mechanic, it freezes off parts of your max health, that you then have to take bottle potion, booze, to warm yourself back up, to where you get your full health. And then you have to take poultices to actually recover your health. Oh my god, there's so much going on. So you're trying to juggle all this fucking shit. And then all of a sudden, here comes the giant fucking asshole to rain cars and corruption on me, to add to the corruption I'm already trying to dodge. Oh, and falling cars, fantastic. And then it goes, it realizes what you're doing apparently, and it lights up red. Now it's just going to sit here. Fantastic. Like, it's very fucking frustrating, and yet at the same time, it's just the funniest goddamn thing, because it's got its own icon on the map. You can actually follow it wherever it is on the map. So you can plan for it, and be like, it's here now, I'm not going to go raid that place now, because it's over here. I'll wait till it's all the fucking way over there, and maybe it won't make it to me in time. Like, you have to plan around that shit. There's a lot going on in this game. Oh my god, is it so much fun. It's just, whatever you want to do. It's got the wonderful survival element to it, and you can just fuck around and try and loot crap as much as you want. And it's got a building element to it, it's got a town management element to it, it's roguelike, it packs so much into one giant package, and yet everything kind of actually works pretty well together. You know what I mean? Like, things take a long time to build in the town, but the more people you get, faster shit builds. And there's a whole lot of town management, but you can set shit up ahead of time and just kind of let them do their own thing if you want to. Like, they'll do what's necessary in the town. You know, if you plop down a building and say, I think there should be a hut right there, they'll go, oh, sounds good, and then they'll start building it. Whenever they get free time, they'll just go, I'll go build a hut now. And then they'll build the hut, and then the next time they get a chance to do something, they'll go, fuck it, I'm going hunting. Like, they do whatever needs. We need food. You know, like, they do whatever needs done. They actually have a pretty decent AI to them. And it's multiplayer, but you have to have a follower before you can do multiplayer. You get followers pretty quick, so it's not like you have to, you know, if you want to play with a friend, you don't have to put that much work into it to get a follower. Just go straight north and then off to the right. You'll run into one. And if you don't want to go off to the right, if you just want to be contrarian as fuck, you'll find one eventually to the left too. So, right, you find them. You find a couple of them, and then after a while, they just start showing up at your place, and you're like, well, join us, fucking A. So, yeah, and, like, there's a cool interplay going on between the people. There's a lot of, like, there's times where you'll wind up back in town, and it'll be like, you have to go to the weeping circle because somebody wants to cry about their past. And it's like, and you have to go up there and you hear these interesting, they are actually pretty interesting. It's well written. You hear these interesting stories about where these fucking people had just, like the camps that they had just come from. And you see how humanity had just devolved in those places into just violence and horror. And, it's terrible stories. And you're like, yeah, can't wait to have that shit going on here. But, yeah, nah. So, yeah, like, it's pretty cool. I really like the game. The story's really good. The graphics are really good. The gameplay is really good. The amount of shit that there is to do is really good. I imagine the replay value is going to be extremely high. Because it's going to be cool to be like, well, let's start over again, but I'd like to keep my dogs. Fuck yeah, because that shit's useful. You know, I really like the game. It's Fade to Silence. I think it's still on sale. Actually, today might be the last day for the sale. So, if you're an Xbox user, jump on and check out Fade to Silence. If a rogue version of State of Decay 2 with Dark Souls style fighting is a game for you, then Fade to Silence is the game for you.